The Audacity of She. Incisive conversations with women who are challenging the status quo to create wildly fulfilling lives. Plus, practical information you can apply to your life right now. Greetings! I'm super excited to share today's episode of The Audacity of She with you. A couple weeks ago at the time of this recording, I had a conversation with my good friend Jasna Burza. Jasna is a life and business strategist. Her mission is to help people wake up feeling good about themselves and go to bed grateful for what they have. Jasna's positivity and passion for dreams is not only infectious, but it's guaranteed to energize and empower those around her. Having lived through war in native Bosnia, Jasna teaches and inspires others to learn resilience, create purpose, and connect to deeper meaning of life, aligning their skills and passions with their work. In our conversation, you'll learn about Jasna's time spent in a refugee camp while her father was in a concentration camp, how she moved to the US and attended school with plans of becoming the president of Bosnia. And yes, I mean that literally. She says it's no secret. She is a highly ambitious person and she's always wanted to create change. You'll learn about her process of abandoning this dream and how she navigated the space of nothingness, as she calls it, that resulted. You'll hear about how she interpreted some of the big setbacks that have happened in her life, the pain and resentment that came along with them, and how it inspired her to change her whole life once more, walking away from a very lucrative career to discover what she is here to do. We'll talk about the beautiful miracles that came into her life after that, and a little spoiler alert, they're two cute little guys. We'll talk about taking the good with the bad, reinventing herself. Oh, so much more. When I had this conversation, no lie, I felt like I was experiencing an episode of Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. It was really hard for me to write this intro because we talked about a lot, and I thought all of it was so insightful and mention-worthy. Listen on, and you'll hear Jasna's tip for creating a life of 7s and higher. That's on a scale of 1 to 10. Spiritual growth through turbulence, synchronicity, and blessing each person you meet, especially those you dislike. Say what? And more. Jasna is so thoughtful and present and powerful. I am honored to share this episode with you. So on that note, let's get into it. I'll see you on the other side. Hi, Jasna. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good and so excited to be here.
Great. I'm so excited that you're here. So I've been really looking forward to talking to you for, months really, but the past week in particular. So I'm glad the day is here.
Yeah, same here. I feel very honored. And you're one kick-butt woman, so this is going to be awesome.
It is. All right, well, we will get going. Let's start right at the top. Jasna, I know you don't like talking about concentration camp stuff too much and like refugee camp, but just to give people a small baseline, can you just kind of say like just bare minimums about just kind of the earlier days before moving to the US?
Boy, you really had to go there, didn't you?
Well, that's like a huge transition. And how happy you are, that's when I was like, wow, how did this woman even get to that point? Because I think my life might have crumbled, but you're thriving. So that seems really important.
Well, you know, I don't want my name to be associated with poor me, I'm the victim, look at what I've experienced. But what I've realized recently is that there's a innate curiosity about my childhood. And very often I am very positive and very forward thinking. And I think that I've heard one of the clients say, it's like, you're always so put together and so happy. It's like, you must have had such a perfect life. And I think that sparked an interest in me in sharing just a little bit. Not a lot. I think that your question probably stems from the post I shared recently. I grew up in Bosnia, and when I was 9, a war started in Bosnia, former Yugoslavia. So I ended up in a concentration. My dad, rather, ended up in a concentration camp, and my family and myself, we ended up in a refugee camp. So that was my upbringing. That was my life at 9 years old. And I think when you're faced with something so early on, it just becomes your reality. Like if I look back, it's just what it is. I didn't know any different. But
Mm,
what it had done for me, I think, is created a whole different reality in which I am so utterly grateful for the life I have. And, in researching positive psychology and following the people that I do follow, and I have come to a realization that having that attitude of gratitude brings even more my way. And so it's like, wow. And then just reinforces the feeling like, thank you, thank you. So
mm,
from that early childhood, I think that I've learned that I am incredibly resilient, that life is always complicated. It's never easy, and things will happen. It's coming. It has to happen. So if I can remember that I can survive no matter what, and that I'm stronger than that, then I think that I win, and that every single morning, if I wake up knowing that I'm a good person, that I'm doing good, that I'm have a peaceful heart, I'm doing well.
yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Hmm.
That's great. And so you moved to the US and you came to the U of M and you initially studied public policy. That was your master's, right?
Yes, well, actually, I went to St. Ben's and St. John's first, and I studied peace studies and political science. I
Mm.
wanted to be a president of Bosnia. That didn't
Literally the
last long.
president of Bosnia?
Literally. I mean,
Huh.
I've always, it's no secret. I'm a highly ambitious person. Always
Yeah.
have been, very type A driven. So I got very disillusioned very quickly. Ended up working for the International Committee of the Red Cross in Geneva, Switzerland, and I was just so I think, confused by all the bureaucracy, and I am a rebel secretly.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
I wanted to create change, always have, but not when I had to be a puppet for something I don't believe in. So I gave that up, but first went to St. Ben's and then traveled around, went all over the world, France, Africa, Brazil, and came back to Minnesota to do my master in public policy. Still hoping I'd be a president of Bosnia, but
Hmm.
got more and more disillusioned.
Okay. So then after you received that master's degree from the U of M, when did you decide that you wanted to do something different, that you no longer wanted to be the president of Bosnia?
Oh boy. I think I knew it. I didn't want to admit it because
Hmm.
when you're invested and you put so much of schooling and money and time into, your dream, it's very difficult to, shift gears.
Yes.
So very difficult because you feel like you need to keep going. And it wasn't, I gave that up soon thereafter, after my master's, but I still didn't know that. I think once you abandon the dream that you had for a very long time, you can enter a space of nothingness, a
Hmm.
space of no direction. And I think that I was in that space for quite a number of years. And I was going from a nonprofit world to a for-profit world, trying to find myself and trying to experience what would work for me. Where could I find my place under the sun, so to speak?
Hmm. But within that world and within that place of nothingness, you were really thriving financially. It's not like you were trying to scrape by.
No, I have always done very well, thank God. Yes, but one of the things that I have learned is in all of that, in thriving, being, happily married, having seemingly, according to world, everything I'd ever wanted, more money I thought I could ever make, all the exotic vacations, the good life, so to speak. I was really, really, really unhappy.
Hmm.
And the reason was that I'd lost a child, and then I had series of miscarriages.
Hmm.
And that was one thing. See, if I ever lose a status or money. It's like I make that happen no matter what. Like I'm an abundant in that space. That happens easily. But there was this thing, if there was one thing I'm supposed to do as a woman is to have a child, and I can't do that. Wow, right?
Mm.
And it was a personal thing. That was the only thing that was going to wake me up. So that was the moment that changed everything for me. Absolutely everything.
Sure. Do you think that those conditions were present because you weren't doing the work that made your body happy and healthy to provide like a nurturing space then for a baby? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think it was spiritual. I think
Mm.
that I was always in optimal health, always took care of my body, but I was working too much, and I think that and working out too much, always going to the next thing. And for me, I think it's spiritual. I am a firm believer that anytime we're not on our path, coin, accidents are going to happen. Things that are not easy, that are not happy, are going to come our way. So after I think the third or the fourth miscarriage, I'm like, okay, after the pain and the resentment, I'm like, okay, what am I here to learn?
Mm.
And for me, I literally for 6 months did not leave the house except to go work out and go travel for work. And I went to a library, got about 50 books, and I really wanted to get to the bottom of this. I wanted to try to understand, go back to the this knowing who I was. There was a time where I knew who I was. Right before I came to the States, I was
Mm.
so clear,
Mm.
so self-assured and self-aware. And then the moment I came here, I think I tried too hard, and I lost sight of that. And in that 6 month process, it was really painful. I suffered subsequent miscarriages, but I look back with such sentimental notion. That was some of the happiest time in my life, because it was closest to God, if you wish.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So then you came here and then had all of these processes where you're not working too much and you feel like you had kind of lost yourself. And then you decided that after this period of 6 months where you didn't leave except for working and going to the library and traveling, then and fitness. Fitness was in there too. Then you decided that you would, what, leave the job behind? Is that where coaching comes in?
Yes, I went back to grad school.
Hmm.
So, one of the questions that I asked myself, okay, if I'm never going to have a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it's not going to happen, and I was told that it's never going to happen after medically and statistically, after a number of miscarriages, the chances is so slim that they told me to look at other options. And I just, I'm like, I was really looking at it as a spiritual lesson. I said, okay, if I'm not going to have a child, if my mission in life is not to be a mother,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm open to that. It's not what I want, it's what I'm here for, what I'm directed to do here. What would I do? And the answer was quit the job immediately.
Hmm.
And I did that. And I went back to grad school for coaching, and I have never looked back. And I mean, it's kind of interesting that we're talking right now, and I have two sons that came within a year on their own, little blessings, right? After I had quit my job, and after I had started doing what I really wanted to do for a very long time.
Hmm. That's like goosebumps through my body.
It's pretty amazing. Sends goosebumps through my body every single time I think about it.
Yeah, I bet it does. Wow. How did you know at each stage, as you're making these big transitions and stepping into like the next thing that you think is the most aligned decision for you, how have you known that it was time to leap to the new thing? Were you more prompted, because you talk about people being prompted by either pleasure or pain. So were you more prompted by the idea of pleasure in making these leaps, or was it pain, like you had just hurt yourself too much and you wanted to do something different?
So it's both,
Hmm.
right? I think that had it not been for the pain, I would have probably never made the changes. Maybe not never, maybe much later in life. So the pain was the main instigator. Without it, I just would not have been, I mean, I had it too good, right? I had everything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So without that, had I just successfully gotten pregnant, I think I would have still been in the job that I was in.
Hmm.
It's very difficult to leave something like that behind, I think. So for me, it was the pain, but then it was also the excitement about giving birth to myself. So, at that time, I'd worked with a coach, an incredible woman, just absolutely incredible. And we talked about this process of, if I'm not going to have a child, what if I gave birth to myself?
Hmm.
And that became a symbol for me. So in making all these transitions, after the pain had subsided, and after the initial I need to get out of here sentiment had passed, I think that it was, what do I want? What have I always wanted? And I've always been positive and inspiring and practical. And I remember even in my sales job, I had positive psychology tabs open in my computer in articles that I would read. I was always attracted to it, and I had dabbled in coaching probably 10 years before I went to grad school. But I thought that it was foo-foo. I thought it was uh, too soft. I was an academic
Hmm.
and a researcher and a professional. And I just, it was so tied up in my identity. I thought that, wow, I'm only going to be a life coach. You mean I'm not going to be the president of Bosnia? And that was just like, I had to overcome that. Like, yes, I'm going to be a life coach, and I'm going to be the best coach there is, and I'm going to be so incredibly happy. And it was this hope. It was the walk toward the sun,
Hmm.
and reinventing myself, giving birth to myself. And I continue to do it. I think in having children, I'm realizing that I have to give birth to myself over and over and over again through them, because they teach me. But it was really both. And if I may add, because I know there will be people listening to this, who may be experiencing difficulty, I would never take any of it back.
Hmm.
I think that pain is sometimes the best teacher. And there's a beautiful quote in someone told me, I believe there is in the Bible, story of Esther, that says that, God told her that, I'll never put more on your shoulders than what you can handle.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, that always sits on my consciousness in any decision that I make.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. And it does make so much sense. Mm-hmm.
It does. It really does. It's every single time, even in my daily walks, if someone, cuts me off, or I encounter any kind of uncomfortable feeling or an accident, the first thing that I ever do is stop and saying, how am I not being present right now?
Hmm.
Because those things do not happen in a vacuum. They don't happen when, they happen when I'm mindless and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
So from those big things that I would, I never change, I've become more susceptible to those things. So I am the master of saying no and avoiding um, uncomfortable situations. That is not to say that uh, that I live in la la land. It's just that I firmly believe what it is that you surround yourself becomes your makeup, your internal
Yes.
makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to be affecting my energy. And that's another thing I really strongly believe in. So I avoid polluted thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
polluted people and toxic conversations with a vengeance. So much
Isn't it
so that, oh, go ahead.
isn't it amazing how much those things impact your life? I never really realized that until I started getting really clear about who I was spending my time around and what type of
Oh,
like
yeah.
physical possessions I had in my space and just going through that process.
Huge. I think it makes all the difference in the world. In fact, if I'm ever feeling very, um, unfulfilled and
Hmm.
unhappy in my personal and professional life, the first thing that I do is start to think about who I need to spend less time with. And then I clean and declutter my entire house.
Oh, I love that.
My
I love
first
that.
go to, biggest advice that I give anyone, if you are just having a crappy couple of days or weeks, clean your house, bottom to top, get rid of stuff, start move the energy. That it matters so much, so much.
Yeah, it's so profound. Even if I'm like in a state of just confusion in my day where I feel like there's just too many things going on. So maybe not a bigger like discontentment with my life, but just an immediate issue, like an agitation in my body, I'll just stop and clean. And then within like
Hmm
10 minutes of cleaning, I'm just shocked at how much my perspective has changed. Because it's like as you organize the things in your physical space, it organizes your mental space.
hmm It's kind of amazing, isn't
Yeah, it is.
it?
It is. I
It
just had
is.
one of my friends on. I'm at the time you and I are talking, I'm going to release her episode today, and she does closet curation. So she starts the process of cleaning your home inside of your closet, and like the baseline that she helps her clients get to is like a baseline of joy within their wardrobe. And then that simplification and that letting go starts to like seep into the other areas of your home and of like your mind. So it's really interesting to watch the transition through that perspective too.
I love that. I think it makes a world of difference, and we need to seek out people who know more about that and who can
Yes.
teach us.
Yes, 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 yes. When I was preparing for this conversation today, I was looking at some of your videos online, and one of the things you shared in your recent talk, I think you were on Good Day Live, was that the show? Was simplifying your life. And you gave this list of things that people should look at that they're doing and decide which ones no longer serve them. So I'll quick ramble them off. There's only a few. It was looking at networking groups that have become an obligation, volunteer groups that you no longer want to serve, personal relationships that drain you, invitations from people you've outgrown, or a specific emotion. And what you discussed was writing down, just taking an inventory of all of these things. And then anything that's under a seven, let it go. Because once you do that, then you've built this whole life of sevens, eights, nines, and tens. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so good. That's exactly what everyone needs to do, starting with me.
Revolutionary, right?
It's so revolutionary and it seems
hmm
basic, but we forget that. And here it was, just this really succinct list of the exact things that you should look at. Because imagine if you have a life that's a seven and above. Oh my,
that's a pretty good life.
that's an
But
amazing life.
it's very easy to get caught up in the extracurricular activities that do not serve us whatsoever, but only serve the ego.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to become so discerning of where we spend our time. And most of the time, we will find that it's misappropriated, that
Hmm.
it's really not wisely used. And the things we do are the things, the reasons why we do them are not the true reasons. And I think we need to wake up to that and stop this madness of pleasing others and doing things just because it's expected of us because everyone else is doing it. It's
Hmm.
ridiculous.
Hmm. So how do you identify the things that you think might be bringing you joy, but they're really just the things that society says should bring you joy?
Oh, we all know what doesn't bring us joy. We just keep doing it. Yeah.
You're
I
right.
think I think that's a no-brainer, right? I mean, um, the, the all the things that we do, and we're committing to boards. I remember committing to be. I was on a city council recently, and I did enjoy it,
Hmm.
but I realized that how stretched out I was. So if you're not fully there and you could be somewhere else with more with the soul and the body, then that's where you should be. And I think it's figuring out the reasons. And I'll give you an example. Last year I have one of my sons, I'm at home with them part of the time, and I take them to Edina Community Education. Little buddies can play, and there are other mamas in a separate room. I don't know if you ever took those classes. And everyone started asking me about, preschool where my 3-year-old is going to go next year. I'm like, oh wow! I'm like, I dropped the ball. I did not, I didn't grow up here. I don't know how the school system works.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mother, I want to provide the best for my child. So it was this notion like, wow, everyone is putting their kid in preschool at 3. I'm putting him at disadvantage. And I did. I signed him up 4 days a week for 2 hours. And mind you, at the time I had, a 2-year-old, another son younger than him. And I'm thinking, I have to sometime wake him from his nap so I can drop my other kid off for 2 hours, which will leave me with an hour 15, right, to do something like, what am I going to do? And I started thinking about the stress they would bring on my children
Mm-hmm.
to do that in the winter, 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so why am I doing this?
Mm.
And the only reason why I was doing it because all of the moms in my preschool class were doing it.
Mm.
Like, this is very interesting. I don't very easily get caught up in this, but this is an example of one place in my life where I'm not as knowledgeable or confident. It's just parenting. I don't know how to do this thing. So I fell for it. But very quickly, I pulled him out, of course. And we have all been happier for it, right? He doesn't lack, education. He's incredibly smart. And I think he needs to be more of a child. The education, that will come. I have no doubt that it will come. So it was an awakening moment for me that how easily I can fall into that situation. But it's really asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah,
Finding the true reason behind
yeah,
it.
that's one of the things that I appreciate most about you, just over the months that I've kind of, well, from the outside anyways, watched your processes, is that you really take your own medicine. You said that in December when we had coffee, and it was just, it's so true. Because
Mm-hmm.
you may look at it like, oh, I can't believe that I put my son into daycare and into this situation, or into preschool, into this situation that wasn't helping just based on what society would have us do. But what I see is that you were able to so quickly, within what, just a couple of months tops, assess that the situation wasn't working and then correct course and change it so that your life was back to making sense again.
Yes. Well, it goes back to the thing that I said previously. I don't, if I don't like uncomfortable feelings. The feeling
Hmm.
of anguish or anxiety, the moment I feel it, I stop everything I'm doing. Absolutely everything. Because if I don't deal with what's at hand and what's causing that, it's only going to create an avalanche of more of it to come.
Yeah.
Every single time, because everything else that I do, I'm bringing that anxiousness or that icky feeling into it. And I refuse to do that. I refuse to pollute my marriage, my beautiful marriage, with that presence in my children with that. And listen, I'm very open about my transgressions, or very open about the fact that I fall on my butt more often than I would like to admit.
Hmm.
But I think that everyone does. And if we can learn to be so loving to ourselves, understanding that we all do, that it's a human experience, and change course. As a matter of factly take that approach, like, okay, well, that didn't work. What else could work?
Mm.
Versus, oh, you're so dumb. What were you thinking? All of that language that goes in that self hatred from when we make a mistake. It happens. Just, realize that it wasn't the decision made from a conscious place. It happens to everyone. And then what is a better feeling decision that's going to serve you and your family right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's only through those ebbs and flows that you really find your own rhythm, anyways. Like, you can't really understand, like, the really deeply fulfilling moments if you haven't had, like, the deeply unfulfilling moments. It's like you need both ends equally.
I don't want my life without it. I know that sounds really insane, but w- I think that one of the things that is part of my teaching is the fact that if you only expect happy moment and you always seek out for those, you're setting yourself for an absolute misery in life, because life, a human experience is such that the only way to grow is to experience spiritual turbulence, because that is our compass. That is how we find our way. That is how we, find our way in the dark, so to speak. And I think that we need to seek out uncomfortable because we learn what we're made of. And, I tend to really, really welcome difficult situations. I remove myself from poison when I don't need it. But when something is present and I can learn from it, I really welcome it and I sit with it. If you ever notice that I'm not present on Instagram or social media, it means that I'm sitting with something. And when I don't have much to say or something that's useful, I'm not going to say anything.
That's great. And it's kind of counter what people say you should do, especially as an entrepreneur, that you should post X amount of days and this many times per day and at this time of day.
Yeah, I don't buy any of that. Listen, I'm all about consistency. Yes, as an entrepreneur, you need consistency. You want people to, to get to know who you are. But if you are, pushing past if you're ignoring your children, for example, who really need you to publish an Instagram post, boy, you really need to figure out your priorities.
So then
that's it.
Yeah. So then how does one figure out their priorities? I know how I would answer this question for you. I'd say that they need to get your purpose compass formula.
Well, that's one way.
It's a great first step because here's the thing.
Thank you for the plug, Dana. Well, how nice of you.
Oh, I only do it because it's so honest. I watched through that thing and it's such a comprehensive guide. It's not like, so Jasna's purpose compass formula is an opt-in on her website. And a lot of times opt-ins are just like this surface level attempt for someone to collect your email address so that they can now talk to you for forever. And Jasna's is just not that at all. It's very in-depth and it's 20 some pages, and it walks you through a really clear, concise process. And at the end of it, you have these real takeaways that you can start to apply to your life right now after getting a really big, thorough snapshot of what's going on in your life. I would say, though, that on top of that, I think that's really powerful, but I think you really have to have somebody like you, somebody who, maybe not a life coach. It could be a life coach or a therapist. I really like life coaches, but who has the ability to help mirror things to you, because otherwise you miss stuff. Like you can't see yourself all the way.
I beg to disagree. Right.
Really?
And yes. And I think that, I'm a coach. Of course, I want people to come to me. That's my sustenance. It's my job. It's my profession. And there's never a lack. However, to think that one needs a coach to see this, I think sometimes we do. I mean, it's the reason why I have a coach. There are many moments where I need to evaluate and I can't see. I just can't see what's in front of me. And I really need help. But I really want to encourage everyone that within us, we have a guidance system that's better than any coach can provide. And I think that we have the answers within us better than any coach can, mirror. What coaches do really well is create space for that to come out. But really, all it takes, for example, purpose compass formula. I was sick of different opt-ins out there I was getting. The process that I laid out, I'm glad you mentioned it because I really rarely talk about it, is that it's the exact process I use with my clients. And the thing is that even if someone walks through the process and answers those questions and starts to take some of those steps forward, they're already going to see incredible change in their life. And sometimes that's all someone needs. Some people need more push. Some people need more accountability. Some people need more clarity. And, some people need speed. They don't have the time to figure out on their own. But, I really think that very often we can figure a lot of this stuff on our own.
Hmm.
Sorry, Dana.
No, I love it because you're a life coach and you're telling people that they don't absolutely have to have a life coach. So that's great.
They don't. Well, not, by the way, not everyone needs a coach, or not everyone is coachable.
Hmm.
And I think that there's this illusion that sometimes I feel really, I get very angry by a lot of coaches and in our profession who are shaming people for not hiring them. And I think that's a true shame in itself. We need to be inspiring people. I think we're incredibly resilient, resourceful, and creative and whole. And there's never anything lacking. So when people come to me and think that I need to fix something or lack it, like, I correct them right away. My job is to create the space for them to discover a safe space, an energy unlike any other that's incredibly sacred. But if they had the intention and the time, they could do that themselves.
Hmm. I guess I always feel like there's so much stuff that I don't know. So if there's this person who has this different sort of expertise than what I know and they can help me understand like how to look at things in a different way, then I usually take leaps like way faster. Like I feel like I would have been like 5 years in some of the decisions that I've made in just a span of a few weeks as a result of working with a life coach.
But that's the speed, right? You
Yeah.
could
Okay.
figure that out.
Hmm.
You could figure it out if you took the time. But what coaches do is they cut to it very quickly, and they're an independent observer who can really understand. And so I get it. I mean, again, it's every time I go to my coach, she sets me straight pretty quickly, and I really appreciate that because she knows me so well at this point.
Hmm.
So yes, I completely understand. But at the same time, I also know that you are a very smart woman, and you already make a lot of self corrections on your own.
Hmm.
And I think that if you can teach people to do that a little bit more, then we would all be better off.
Huh. You're saying if I did?
Oh no,
Or
I'm
just
saying
people
you.
in general?
No, if we did, no, 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 all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like that. That's very true. Okay, so then if somebody really wants to start diving in and just take a magnifying glass to their life and kind of discover what's going on, like in the areas where they're not feeling happy, you do still recommend your purpose compass formula? Because I definitely do.
Thank you. Well, of course, it's a tool. But
Hmm.
again, it's not the only tool. Yes, I want you to use it if it's going to serve you, please. It's a fantastic, incredible tool. However, there are many other tools out there. And here's another thing. So this is why, I don't think people like interviewing very much, because I'm like, really? Okay, you can't keep changing the tune so quickly. The thing is that one size doesn't fit all. There are
Hmm.
people for whom purpose compass formula may not work,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because they might be more tactile, or they might want a video. They might want maybe they really need to be with someone.
Hmm.
Sometimes people only work well when they work with someone one on one. But it's the first thing that I would tell them is to sit still. Just be still. Close your eyes and just breathe. And that's one thing that we do very rarely. In fact, research has shown that we would much rather be electrocuted than sit alone with our own thoughts.
No
I
way,
actually did a
really?
blog. I did a blog about it. You can look it up. Yes.
Wow.
They did a study with people where they could either, electrocute themselves when they were on their own, or just sit still with their thoughts. And I think it was 8 out of 10 people chose to, prick themselves with electric shock because they couldn't sit still in silence.
Huh.
I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. So the first thing that I would do is just close your eyes and just breathe, be still. Before, we are doers. We need to fill out the worksheets. We need to do. I say
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
First be, before you fill out anything or seek out anyone. Be first. Still, try to understand. Just um, fully accept the emotions and the body and the mind and all of it. Just fully, the moment you fully accept it, it doesn't have control over you anymore. And then you can let it go. And then, yes, seek out. So Purpose Compass Formula is one fantastic, way to get there. And there are others. There are books, there are videos. There's so many different things that one can do. But if you set an intention of changing things and have an open heart, one of the greatest prayers that I have for my life is, please, God, show me the way.
Hmm.
Show me the way. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to be of service? And then I always say, send people and resources in my life that are going to be the most beneficial to me now.
Hmm.
And then I just say to let it go, and I walk out, walk away. And it's absolutely, Dana, it's miraculous what happens that day or that week,
Mm-hmm.
right? The synchronicities, and then you will receive everything you need on that path.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
But
That's perfect. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah, I do too. I really do. But thank you for the plug. You're so awesome.
Yeah, I try not
I need
to.
to be doing a better job at that. I really do. I promise I will. Watch me. I'm a woman of my words. Watch me start promoting Purpose Compass Formula, because I just have not been doing it.
Huh. Well, it's good to have that feedback. I remember when you and I sat for the first time for coffee in December 2016. I hadn't been doing anything with video work because I don't know, I was afraid. And I looked over and you were starting an Instagram live. And I was like, what is she doing? And I was like, okay, I lived through that. So if I can survive on her Instagram live, maybe I can do my own Facebook live. So then I did my
And you
first Facebook
did.
live. Yeah. And
I
now I've
was
been
very
doing a
impressed.
I know I was too because I didn't really see myself doing it. Like I knew I needed to do it, but it was like in the future. And you're like, "What are you waiting for?" And I was like, the right time." And we all know there's like never a right time, so it was just a reason to not do it.
So true. Here's the thing. One of the things that I do know is that people who, if I want everyone that I meet with to walk away feeling inspired, loved, or just completely moved,
Hmm.
right? That's my mission in life.
Every
So
single person?
every single person,
Wow.
even the people I really dislike, with them especially, I go above and beyond.
How do you
Uh,
do that?
Well, I am present. I remove this is difficult if I have something at stake, if I want something from them. But if I can, because then I get my own, ego I need to get my ego check, is to just be completely understand that we're so more connected and more alike than we think we're apart, or
Hmm.
we're different.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do that, then I have this understanding. Listen, it doesn't work every time, but I really do my best. That if I can have love for another, then I know that in the same token, I'm loving myself. And
Hmm.
it was really remarkable when I met you. And by the way, I don't take meetings, right? It's like I just say no. I'm a master of saying no. You have been so persistent. God bless you. And you are so incredibly beautiful. Your soul, you're so kind, so spiritual, so attentive. I love that. And what's so incredible is that I think that you're really, poised to be on camera. And I think you've proven me right. So I'm really glad that you took that step. It's my signature. People do things after they meet with me.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you for one for that really kind compliment. I'm humbled by that. But yeah,
It's
two, it
true.
thank you. And then two, yeah, it absolutely did make the difference because after that, I actually started consistently showing up on little Instagram stories or little Facebook videos or doing this podcast. Like we don't have the video on right now, but only because for the best sound quality, I need to do audio only. So we'll probably move to video at some point. But yeah, I mean, that really did just start a whole new space for me. So the timing was amazing because it was just shortly after I had decided to commit to doing a podcast.
Yes. Yes. You know how Do you know that you saying that? I did not know that, right?
Huh.
You just said
Mm-hmm.
it.
Uh-huh.
That makes me feel like I can fly right now,
Huh.
right? That my mini me, my meager existence, like I know I'm good at what I do, but every time I hear when someone says, wow, because we had that conversation, this is what I did, and that created something, more enjoyable, pleasurable in my life, I mean, that makes me feel so good. Like I matter. And I think that's a reminder that we all matter. If we show up and we remove ourselves from, expectations, and we can just be there and really, but be very honest and truthful. I mean, magic happens every time. So yeah, it makes me feel so good. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, and thank you. And I do like the idea of leaving people with a positive, some sort of positive feeling after you interact with them. I just had one of my mentors was saying that like people form their next few hours of interactions with you based on like just the first few moments that they encounter you for that time period. So when I'm picking up the kids from school, sometimes I would be kind of flustered because maybe I was trying to finish working and then I was rushing to get them. And then if I bring that energy into our interaction, I find that that does really seep into the next several hours. So I've been working to really just bring more awareness on being slowed down and present by the time I
Mm,
talk with them so that we can have that energy and enjoy each other for the evening. I think
I
maybe
love
as
that.
women, it's even more so, isn't it?
I love that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a lifelong exercise to be present, to
It
be here,
is.
and be
Mm-hmm.
here now.
It is. But we're so powerful when we are.
Mhm. Very, very difficult to discern when we're constantly looking for what's next. So
Hmm.
true.
Hmm. All right. Well, Yasna, I think I asked you everything I could have asked or that I had in mind. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I am just really excited, honored. I'm always honored when someone wants to ask me questions and thinks that I have something to say. I don't ever want to lose that. That's beautiful, Lena, right? That
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, someone wants to hear what I have to say. That's incredible. Thank you. I think that you're doing a beautiful job with the audacity of she. I love that title. And I think that a reminder for everyone that life is always unfolding and that change is the only constant. And if we can, look at life as an experiment and look at things that don't work and things that do work, we'll understand that everything is just a matter of helping us figure out what it is that we really want and further refining our desires and goals and dreams. And all of that then leads to, better quality of life. But try to remove yourself from the negativity and difficult situations. And I know it's very difficult, stay away from that. But if we do, then, more things on an energetic and spiritual basis come our way.
Perfect.
Yay!
Yay. Okay, and then last thing, just tell people who want to find you how to connect with you online.
Well, you can find me on Instagram, where I have been living recently. I love Instagram under Jasna.Burza. Or you can come to my website, www.jasnaborza.com. And then you can check out the Purpose Compass formula. And also just, I have some other goodies. And I keep adding more. I'm actually committed to adding more video material this month. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, great. I look forward to it.
Yay!
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Yasna. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I will. Bye, Dana.
Bye-bye. Did today's topic inspire you, encourage you, or challenge you to look at your own processes in a different way? Join us in our Facebook group to continue the conversation. It's where all the good stuff happens after the show. It's theaudacityofshe.com/Facebook. Again, that's theaudacityofshe.com/Facebook. See you there.